Hey, we're back with another WAC Attack episode today. Scott and I are in the booth, and we're going to be talking about some health and nutrition.
Yes, sir.
Scott's got some questions for me. He's asked me some questions over the years. We're going to cover off on some of the topics there. I'm going to share, my 15 years worth of experience in the fitness and nutrition space. It's probably the thing that I have the most experience with, thousands of hours of practice outside of my professional career, which is being a software architect. So it's the thing that I'm really the most passionate and the most knowledgeable about, aside from that. And so, we had an episode a couple weeks back where I had said something along the lines of, the gym is 1 hour of your day. What are you doing for the other 23 hours of your day?
Yeah.
Remember that? So we had some feedback and some follow-up from some people in that arena, and I think some of the context maybe was taken out of the picture.
The internet has spoken.
The internet has spoken, yes. The internet is undefeated,
Which means absolutely nothing.
Yeah, absolutely nothing. But really what I was trying to say is, like, there's a 24-hour cycle, and that's 7 days a week. And if you're in the fitness and the nutrition space, it's what you're doing each day that summarizes over the course of the week that really deliver the benefits that you get, or the gains you get, the gains with a Z, from the nutrition perspective or the fitness perspective. And so I really think there's three important things for anyone who's looking to get started. And this is mainly targeted for the people who, if you're in the fitness and the nutrition space and you've been doing this for like a year or less, that's kind of what I say is, like, people that are either like you've just gotten started or you're looking to get started.
You're junior. Exactly.
Or maybe you just don't know where to start. My three simple things that I could tell anyone is, number one, start moving.
Mm-hmm.
You're in the position you're in today because you haven't moved enough. So whatever it is, walking is probably the most underrated thing in fitness. Like, start moving.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Number two is prepare more. So when I say prepare more, what I'm saying is what you're currently doing is not working for you.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to start preparing more than you currently are. And I'm not saying go completely off the deep end, but that's going to enable you to have better success.
Food prep, stretching,
taking care of
time
your body,
management,
sleep, etc. Yeah. Managing your stress, things like that. And then the third thing is keep it simple. Don't do anything extravagant or really exotic for what you're trying to do. You need to do things that you can maintain week over week, month over month, year over year. And that's really important. So that could be things like, you don't need to cook gourmet meals for all your meals every week, because you're going to get tired of cooking. Just if you're spending tens of hours.
Or a guy trying to gain, you don't have to do 3 shakes a day, right? And try to kill that one jug, and the next thing you know, you're burnt out the next month.
Yeah. So there's things like that, or there is overtraining. Really keeping it simple is like, get a solid foundation in place. And a foundation is not the perfect foundation from a nutrition and a fitness perspective. It is the foundations for enabling you to start moving more, start preparing more, and for you to keep it simple, right? So if you can be in the gym or do some physical activity more days of the week than you're not, that's going to really be beneficial for you. Same thing. If you can be eating your prepared food more days of the week than not, you're going to be in a good place.
So if you can feel good and perform, right?
Yeah.
Some people are just not feeling good and they don't show up. It's like,
and you're not performing.
Yeah. And that cycle, you're not in a cycle, and yet you're stuck in that cycle.
Yes. And so with the 3 points that I mentioned, I said start moving more. One of the things that those that are new to the fitness and the nutrition space, you're going to feel at some point, is like you show up to the gym and the workout just annihilates you. And over the course of the week, you do that once or twice or 3 times, and then you do that for a couple weeks on end. At the end of that month, you're like, man, I don't want to fucking do that thing anymore. And so that's really what you want to try to avoid, because that the negative mentality when you're actually getting in and doing the work is more of a hindrance to your long-term benefits than it is for you, like what you're actually getting out of destroying yourself in those sessions.
Yeah, I think, not to cut you off, but I think you have to stay inspired, right? So
exactly,
people talk about motivation, this and that, but if your inspiration is to get bikini ready, but it's wintertime, well, guess what? Curtis and I are still in the gym. We're all in the gym. It's not this seasonal thing.
No, it's not. It is not a seasonal thing, and it's your fitness and nutrition is preparing you for whatever you want to do in life.
Yeah, you're like negotiating your death. How do you want to go out?
Yeah, well,
You want to be on life support, right? Like,
I-
I'm just saying that's how serious I take it in regards to there's no clocking in and out. Like, I plan on eating
exactly.
good. I plan on going to the gym, whether the lights are on or off or there's COVID. Like, something heavy is going to be moved, like, repetitively.
Exactly. This is going to be a marathon for your life.
Yeah.
And so you don't want to overdo it and you don't want to underdo it. You want to keep it nice and steady. There will be cycles where you will be doing more because you have more focus, or you have a goal in mind, or you're trying to do something, or you want to do a Spartan race, or you want to compete in some CrossFit competition or bodybuilding competition or whatever, right?
Yeah.
You want to be a better wakeboarder. I don't know.
I cut you off, but we were talking about, I brought up staying inspired, but you were just saying in regards to there's that certain marker, 4 months in, 5 months, and you're doing all these hard workouts, and then you just sort of feel this thing where you're like,
You kind of get the burn.
Yeah.
You get burned.
There's that point, that threshold where people are like, pull the plug. Quit. The exit, it's like,
So the 3 steps that I have, I tell you those things because I want you to avoid that burn.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I don't want you to go to the gym thinking, this workout sucks. How am I going to get through this, et cetera, et cetera.
It's going to be like this forever.
The negative mindset and the drain, like every time you step in the gym, if that's you, there's a mindset problem. And so what we have to do is we have to change everything around you to help contribute it positively to this mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Because the actual most beneficial part of your day is getting to go to the gym, right? Because your body wants to move. It's made to move.
Yeah,
if you got rid of everything we've created as humans over the last 150 years, guess what you'd be doing? You'd be moving.
Yeah.
Right? You'd have to move to get to wherever you want to go, to do whatever you want to do. And so really treat that time as like your sacred time for you to focus on yourself and for you to be a better man, a better woman, a better husband, a better father, a better brother, a better sister, whatever. Yeah, be a better human. And so when I say start moving, obviously there's the need to move more because you're not moving. But then I say prepare more. And so this is where you can really help yourself from a perspective around the burnout aspect of the gym. If you prepare more to be in the gym, you will actually get away from the burnout aspect.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times, let's think about this for a second.
Let me add. So for me, because I'm not a CrossFit Olympian, that would be having my headphones charged, because there's times where I go to the gym and I don't want to be there, and if my headphones aren't freaking charged and I can't have music blasting my eardrums out to crazy levels, then I almost want to skip the workout. I'd rather just go shoot hoops for a little bit and just sort of be lazy that day. So I'm just saying, like, your thing of like your preparation will help with longevity. That's exactly right. Everything is charged, shoes, I have multiple pairs of socks, and you know what I mean? Like, I have outfits, they're matched. Like
if Goggins were here, he'd be schooling you right now.
For sure. And also, like, nothing against that guy, but I'm super happy. So
what are you gonna do when you don't have any headphones?
Yeah.
Don't be in a little poopy pants, bitch.
Yeah.
So
what you gonna fucking do?
Preparation. Yeah.
So the preparation aspect. So that's one piece, right? Preparation can be multiple things.
Oh, it's huge.
So I'm just going to speak to like the individuals, right, where it's just you focusing on yourself. And then I talk about those that are like maybe a head of a household or helping run a family.
Teams or groups.
Yeah. So as an individual, you got to think, am I eating enough for the day? Okay. We're not even going to talk about quality of the foods.
Calories, protein, XYZ.
Am I eating enough to feed the movement that my body needs to do and my body's basal metabolic rate?
Yeah. Requiring.
Exactly. Am I hydrated enough? And hydrated enough is just not drinking water. That is getting the vitamins and minerals that your body needs to function.
Mm-hmm.
Then you talk about how well am I recovered? So this could be how much are you sleeping? Okay. This could also be your stress levels. Like if you have a very stressful job, coming up with tactics to help you sort of mitigate the stress in smaller amounts during the day. So like if you have a really packed day and you work, a solid 6 or 7 hours, maybe like if most of those are meetings or something of the sort, or you have really a mentally strenuous job like I have, give yourself the breaks. So, work for 40, 45 minutes, give yourself that 15-minute break, get outside, take a lap around the building, get up and move, maybe do some stretching. You just kind of give your body that mental break. And if you find yourself when you're doing those things, like you're not allowing your mind to get away from what you were just doing, just be mindful of it and try to like allow yourself to just decompress for a small second. And so all of these things that you can do from a recovery perspective, from a nutrition perspective, from a preparation, like plugging your headphones in or making sure that you have, clothes you like to wear to the gym. Like that sounds silly, but it's so fucking important.
When that burn that you're talking about, that's the only reason I was bringing it up. It's like the littlest of things, you know what I mean? Like I am dialed. So when my human body wants to tap out, my mind's like, yeah, but like, look what we've done.
Yeah.
Like all you have to do is show up, and then like I click in, and after I do like a little bit of something, it's like 50 minutes is gone, and I'm like, I wish I could stay longer, but I have work to do, you know? And like my friends are just waking up, I'm just like,
Exactly.
Winning.
So all these are just examples of preparation. So speaking to the individual, getting yourself ready to the time you like step foot in the gym is important. So you want to be there well fed, well recovered, rested as much as possible within reason.
Yeah.
And you want to have everything ready. So when you're moving in the gym, you're being successful with your movement. And for you, like this could be how you feel. Like you're gonna see yourself in a mirror. If you don't like the clothes you're wearing, get some different clothes.
Yes.
If you want some different shoes, get some different shoes. If you need headphones, get some different headphones. Like the whole purpose of movement and being in the gym is taking care of yourself. And so everything around that you're going to need to do, because while you're there, you want to be solely focused. You don't want anything to distract you. So be focused in on the movement that you're doing.
Hey, to that point though, real quick, for some people, let's say you're a shape that you don't like and you are wearing those clothes and you don't like how they fit, instead of going and buying new clothes, it might be part of an inspirational thing or a personal measurement where you're just like, hey, this thing was like this after 2 or 3 months. Now all of a sudden it's a little looser fitting. I have some friends that are a little heavier and they're just like, man, you know what I mean? This might look like a hunk of junk, but to them, they're just like, oh, this is my measuring stick.
I'm just speaking in very general terms, so this may or may not apply.
But I'm just saying there's heavy people that like, even starting out too, it's just like next thing you know, they're just like super happy doing this. I'm the opposite.
But even they can't even put their belt on anymore because the holes are not short enough, right? Because they've lost a bunch of weight.
I'm just trying to relate, because for me, I'm like, I want to be tight fitted. If my pants are sort of sagging, I'm like, oh no, I'm losing weight. I'm not bulking. But it's like, I have to know that 99% of the people I talk to are dying to lose weight. They'd love to be able to eat whatever they want to eat,
Yeah.
And so that whole journey, anyways, it's exciting to start, even though it's hard for some people.
Write that down. Grab your marker and write it down. Approach to dieting, because I want to talk about that at the end, because I listened to a wonderful podcast on this, and it was the best way I think I've ever heard somebody put together what is the optimal way for humans to diet based on my experience that I know. And I basically said, can I bullshit fact check what this person's saying? And I was like, everything that was in there
checks out.
Oh my God. My brain was just like the
light bulbs.
The nirvana of like, wow, somebody finally put this into words.
I know, it's satisfying. The puzzles, right? You're just like
the puzzle pieces. You saw
all the math,
the 10,000 pieces put together at once.
That's how I feel with like lyrics and music and stuff too.
Yeah, so we'll cover that part.
We'll go back to that.
At
but
the end. So coming back to
getting dialed in,
being prepared to be in the gym.
Yeah,
this could be a variety of things, but anything that's going to contribute towards negativity in the gym, we want to try to remove that.
Yeah.
And so once you're in the gym, okay, this is your time to shine. So if somebody's newer, right, a year or less in the fitness and nutrition space, you're in the gym, and so you're moving more than you have been, so that's a positive. But while you're in the gym, and we're kind of getting into some of the more like intermediate and advanced topics, you really need to have a plan for what you're doing in the gym. And so that usually comes in the form of a concept called programming. Programming is like, what is the workout that's being written for you to do? If you're newer, I recommend group-based fitness. Yeah. Here's why. If you're not as prepared, but you're kind of prepared, or you're unprepared, and you show up, you're going to suffer, but you're going to suffer with people around you, so you might push yourself harder. And there's also some level of accountability where you might make friends with those people. To be honest with you, my experience for the last 12 years, most of my friends that I have now are from people in the CrossFit space. And that's just because like those are the types of people I want to hang out with.
Lifestyle.
Lifestyle. I see them go through the trials and tribulations. And so it's a really good way to also meet people, but it's a good way to be held accountable. And so group-based fitness also has a pre-made workout for you, so you don't have to think about what you're going to do. You just show up and something's already ready for you. For people that are new, that's great. So going into the third piece, right, keeping it simple.
I was about to say, so that's simple. And then also you get the community, which is huge.
Yes. So the keeping it simple aspect, You don't have to know how to do a workout.
Show up.
So you can just show up. You have a coach that's going to be there. They're going to help you through the movements. Not all coaches are created equal, right? So you will find, if you're an intellectually savvy person, but maybe you don't have experience in the health and fitness space, you will find that some coaches are better than others, and you're going to find that the good coaches are really actually hard to find.
Mm-hmm.
So when you find one that's really good, you're just going to kind of gravitate and stick with them.
And also, I think what would be a good point to add here too is that, you know, when people go to the gym, I think they're afraid to ask questions, or they're afraid to like talk to people, right? Because they feel like they're new. But when you're in a group-based setting, like part of working out is getting to know people and getting to meet them and say hi, etc. And so it's a little bit less pressure, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to constantly feel like you have to figure everything out, and you can ask for help without having to look like or feel like, you know, you're inconveniencing that person that you're asking.
Man, I'm really glad you said that. So just as a fitness coach myself, you know, I have a CrossFit cert, not that that's anything special, but I've coached classes for a variety of time. People want help. They're dying for help. There's a level of intimidation when you're in the gym. And I think that, you know, you shouldn't be afraid to ask for help, and don't be afraid to like go up to people and ask them once or twice, or also look like an idiot when you kind of like ask somebody a question, they don't hear you because they have headphones on. Go up to people and ask.
Mm-hmm.
Like the worst they can say is no. But really, if you're not in a group-based fitness setting where you can't ask a coach directly, and there are no dumb questions when it comes to fitness, because if you don't know, you don't know. And if you don't know, you might end up getting hurt. So I'd rather you ask a dumb question than hurt yourself.
But there are no dumb questions if you don't know.
Yeah, but therefore, I'm sorry. Yes, I got tripped up on my words there. That was a big mistake from me. There are no dumb questions, because even if your question, everybody else knows it, but you don't, I want to answer that question for you because I don't want you to get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And so even if you think it might be dumb, still ask the question,
mm-hmm.
because it's better that you can come back the next day and for 3 or 4 days the next week than for you to be hurt and be out for a while.
Consequences can be injuries, and some injuries you never really like get all the way back from.
Correct. A lot of people do, but
I'm just saying backs and knees, right? Like it's worth it. You raise your hand and ask a question. That's all I'm saying. Like nothing crazy.
So, and that's another piece, right? When we talk about keeping it simple, if you really don't know how to move your body, and there's a key distinction here. If you played a lot of sports,
if you're athletic
and you're younger,
you can just move.
Yeah, you can really
you're coachable. Yeah.
And you probably have some experience. So when they're talking about movements or movement patterns or ranges of motion, you're going to have some understanding, and your body's going to have some familiarity in those positions.
And probably get excited. But people who haven't done sports, it's like,
exactly.
You know?
So there's a couple of people that I had coached who had no experience. And if you can identify that you're one of those people, you probably need a lot more help than you think.
Hands-on.
And it's a lot more hands-on. So group-based fitness might not necessarily be the best option for you. It could be a starting point, but you might need some more one-on-one work. And so
what's a good solution for that?
And even do it in hybrid, right? I'm sure it might be some days you can go do that and then try to get one-on-one, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I feel like it doesn't always have to just be
you
one
could do
or the other.
2 or 3 group classes a week and 2 or 3 personal training sessions a week. So if you're looking for some one-on-one help, there are personal training. Pretty much there is personal training at just about any gym you're going to go to. That is going to get you the help you need, and the one-on-one with somebody who's going to help develop you to a stable baseline, where then that baseline is going to allow you to then continue to grow yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, we've talked about the 3 rules here, and so really the keep it simple part is, I want to like emphasize. Don't do anything extravagant with your diet. Don't do anything extravagant with your preparation. Don't do anything extravagant with your workouts. Don't do anything extravagant by changing everything in your life at the flip of a switch, because it's very, very, very few people can do that.
Yeah, that it should be self-explanatory. Most people should know, you know, you can't just, you know, do a lifestyle change.
But when people, you know, they go down this route, they're like, it's January 1st. I made a New Year's resolution. I'm doing all this stuff. That's great that you have the temporary will and drive and motivation.
It's just not practical.
It's not practical, because we want you to be able to do this for the next year, 5 years, 10 years, and for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And so if whatever you're adopting today, you can't adopt tomorrow and next year and 5 years from now and 10 years down the road from now, it's not going to work for you.
Correct.
And so that's my litmus test for anybody who's getting into fitness and nutrition is this thing you want to adopt and do right now. Can you continue to do this?
Replicate.
Can you replicate this? And do you have the honesty to answer that question? And I'm not saying that you can't do this thing, but maybe what you're trying to do right now, that's something that you start doing next year.
Yeah, it's almost like living beyond your means if it's financial. It's like some people are just like, I want this, and we're just like, or you're just like, I know you, and I don't think you have the potential to, but the dedication might not be there.
Yes, and so the plan, right? If there's a 10-step plan, don't go to
up.
step 3 when you're at step 1.
Yeah.
Right? Do step 1 and then step 2, and then you're prepared for step 3.
Hey, this is a little bit of a segue, but I was just gonna say, Curtis, I think this is a great topic. Is as someone who's like OG with the workouts, if you will, what do you think or what do you feel about the health and workout industry, for lack of better terminology, and how there's so much guidance and memberships through social media platforms? My question is, so people that just offer all these services online, do you think that's the same as going in and doing group or one-on-one with someone who's
That's a great question.
because that is
Okay.
I can't say it's billions, but I feel like it's millions and millions and millions of dollars are being generated from people that are just sort of
That's
behind a filter
That's a really good question.
showing you what to do.
That's an amazing question. I'm going to answer that question really quickly.
Yeah.
From the simplicity perspective, and I'm going to tie this in for you.
Yeah.
If you can't do group-based fitness, all right, and you're in the gym and you do all your preparation to be in the gym, you need to have programming for what you're going to do in the gym. If you're starting out, the easiest thing for you to do to start learning how to move your body is working on cable and pulley machines, because there's the least risk of developing an injury on those machines because they really control the movement plane for how your body is allowed to move. Moving a barbell that is a free weight and uncontrolled weight requires the most skill set to know how to move it effectively, efficiently, and safely. And so that's my recommendation, is to get some programming. And if you don't have programming, you want to work your sets. I would say you want to be in the 4 sets per movement, 8 to 10 rep range, and you want to be working towards failure. Failure is where you can't do another repetition near the end of each set. And I like to do full body training splits. Full body training splits are where you're doing one muscle group per day for your entire body. And you're doing that over the course of 4 or 5 days of the week. So you're actually getting the total volume in on a weekly basis.
So what about...
So to answer... No, hold on. So to answer your question...
online...
Of all the
physical,
online folks...
Yeah, everyone's a professional now.
When you want to get programming from somebody, everybody wants to provide you with something because it's a subscription, it's recurring revenue for them. The model, as somebody in the fitness profession or the nutrition profession, there is not enough volume in a single entity. So like a single lifetime, that might be a very rare stipulation where some people may be able to make a decent amount of coin, or like a 24-hour fitness or a Vasa or a Villa Sport or Crunch or whatever, or Gold's Gym. There's not enough volume in those places for those trainers to have enough one-on-one, or I'm sorry, there's not enough time in the day for those trainers to do all the one-on-ones that they could possibly get their hands on and train for people. But if they write people's programming for them and they charge people, hey, I'm going to charge you $25 a month, and they sell it online, suddenly those people that are in the fitness space, instead of making $40,000 to $60,000, $70,000 a year, these people can make, $90,000 to $130,000 a year.
So customized workouts.
So when you see these people online that are peddling their fitness app that they put together that allows you to work out with them and do their workouts, it's really no different than like them being a personal instructor in a group-based fitness class, but they're just providing you with the workouts and you're just paying on a subscription program.
But if it is customized, because we can speak in generalities, but I'm just saying, I'm sure that maybe X amount percentage of the Instagram ladies or men or both or everyone in between they might do some homework and try to customize it, whether they're paying a friend or ChatGPT or Curtis or doing it themselves to customize it to that person. That's one thing. I just wanted to see if
some of them do
if you're going to say
customize
if it's
it.
not in person, then blah 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 blah. But you're saying if it's customized, then participating with someone online and their services can be proper.
So I'm thinking about when you say people like that, I'm thinking about the Ryan Fishers of the world, right?
I see. I don't even know who that
Jim
is.
Ryan,
Okay.
CrossFit Chalk and Chalk Performance.
Easy for him to say.
And then you got people like Jana Breslin, okay, who's pushing her own workout apps, or there's a variety of other people that do the same thing. These people are pushing, so Ryan Fisher pushes workout programs, and so you align yourself with what your fitness goals are in one of his programs.
Oh, okay.
Ryan Fisher is a self-made scientist, and so he has really good quality tracks, like training programs that you could follow. And he publishes workouts for each of those things, and so you're following along, and you have your before and your after photos for how you're working each of those.
But you're
tracks.
conforming into his framework.
You're conforming into his framework. A lot of his stuff is really good, but then you have people like Jana Breslin, who, like, if you follow her Instagram account, she dabbled in fitness, and then she dabbled in CrossFit, and then she has her own workout with Jana app, and then she's got, she kind of jumped on the regenerative agriculture train, and she cooked a whole liver on her barbecue once, and there's just a couple of things that she's done where I'm like, okay, this is probably not somebody that I would follow per se, but the message is there, but how well is the programming? And so if you have somebody like that where they're visually appealing and they might not necessarily have all the knowledge, and you're following one of their programming tracks, that might not necessarily be the best use of your time. But like somebody like Ryan Fisher, who can model, preach, and teach. I mean, you look at Ryan Fisher, he can model all the workouts, he can do all the things, he preaches what's going on, he's active all the time, he talks about his methodology, what he's doing, and he could teach it. That's the mecca, right? So if you go into any group-based fitness gym, and the coach doesn't look like they can play the part. Model, preach, and teach. If you have an overweight fitness instructor, that's usually a cue that person's probably not as good as they could be. But if you have somebody...
Probably.
So for your coach, the 3 rules are, if they can...
Model, preach, and teach.
And if they can't...
Then I would find somebody else.
Continue to shop.
Yes, continue to shop. Go to a different location, try a different gym, try a different class time.
In conclusion, so let's say someone's just entry level thinking about doing fitness, and they think that maybe they're not close enough. They live in the boonies. They can't get to a group-based fitness program and routines and whatnot, but they have a favorite Instagram gal that they really like, and they want to buy a program. So if something can be somewhat customized to their type of workout, subscribing to it like an Instagram fitness person can be beneficial.
So there's a difference between a coach, an influencer, and like a subscription programmer.
And there might be someone who's all 3 of those things, but you're right.
So a coach is somebody who's going to work with you one-on-one. But again, a lot of these fitness folks who have went online, their whole thing is volume, because they could touch more people and they can spend less time. When they have to spend one-on-one time with you that's dedicated, like I'm solely working with you, Scott, you might pay me $100 an hour or something. That's an hour of my time. I can only do so many of those in a day. But if I'm pushing a programming routine for 1,000 people and I'm charging everybody $20, then suddenly, do the math on that, it's $20,000 a month. So when you look at what's financially well for these trainers, they're going to want to go to that subscription model. They're not going to want to go to the one-on-one model. So there's not a lot of them that are doing this really personalized one-on-one stuff.
Okay.
If you do want something really personalized and you are going to a coach, like in the CrossFit space, there's a guy named Sam Smith. He runs Big Dogs training. I think he is a really bright mind in the space. He does, and he has people that work with him that they do one-on-one trainings with their specific people. Same thing with Brute Strength out of Utah. But that's different than the question, at least my interpretation of the question you asked me, which was like, what do you think of all these people that are just pushing their stuff online?
Yeah, no, you answered it. And I guess my question sort of evolved on me. It was just sort of like, I was sort of giving you an alley-oop to say, oh man, 99% of those fools are Dollar Tree. Like, this is garbage. Like,
a lot of them are.
Go into your local gym social media in general is maybe not the move for healthiness, as well as like, oh, I want to get physically healthier. Let me subscribe to some 22-year-old lady in Indonesia who happens to have total different genetics, and like, you know what I mean, and yet you're going to try to keep up with her routines.
If you want online subscription training, Ryan Fisher. Ryan Fisher is the guy you need to look. Is the guy you need to look up. That's FICHER.
Yeah,
Ryan
I can look it
Fisher.
up real quick.
Yeah, RYAN. Jim Ryan, I think, is his website that he has. You can find him. He's all over the place. He's got these wonderful turtle shell abs. He's CrossFit Chalk. He owns CrossFit Chalk. He's based out of California, but he's usually all over the place.
It's Ryan Fisher, FISCHER.
There you go.
And then if he's on Instagram, he is on Instagram. And on Instagram, it's Ryan Fish, RYANFISCH.
And instead of pull it up, Jamie, it's pull it up, Nala. Thank you, Alan.
Yeah, thank you, Alan. If you're gonna do something like that, that's who I recommend going with. I'm a big fan of his full body training splits. I think for a variety of reasons, but I'm not going to talk about why I think all that stuff is successful. Just know that it's successful for a reason, and it doesn't kill you in the gym, and you could do it for a long period of time.
Mm-hmm.
So, kind of diving back in, we had said, hey, from a fitness and a nutrition perspective, if you're new to the space, the 3 rules: start moving, prepare more, keep it simple. If you can do those things over time, you will get better. Okay, so the group-based fitness is a good way for you to get started. Eventually, you reach a plateau where the group-based fitness, like, you need to start focusing more on yourself as the individual and not the group, because the workouts are tailored for the group, and your needs eventually start to get isolated because you're getting better.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where these individualized, like these one-on-one coaches, are really beneficial. That's also where these training tracks, like Ryan Fisher's got a few different ones of them. If one of your goals aligns really well with one of those training tracks, is a good way for you to make the next step. And then really, it's that's where the evolution comes into play, where you are no longer, kind of new to the game. You're like intermediate and you're approaching advanced, because now you have to start doing these things in the gym for yourself, and you really need to know what to do, how much of something to do, how long to do these things for, what you're doing day by day, week by week, what's your training schedule over the course of a month, 2 months.
And when you get into the intermediate level, maybe I'm out of pocket with it saying this, but I feel like there's days when I go to the gym where I'm literally just putting in a bunch of work to maintain where I'm at. And there's other days when I go in and I'm going to work out with some other people. I'm like, all right, we're adding to, our arsenal. Like, today's going to be a gains day. We're doing something new, and developing maybe a different body part or something like that. So I'm just saying that not only is there like the time period of when you're like sort of transitioning, becoming more senior, and we're like, oh man, I feel this plateau, I sort of want to quit, but you don't. You stay in there, and then things get to get fun and evolve. And like you said, you start going to the gym just on your personal. It's not really a group type thing.
Yes, on your own
at a certain point.
Yeah, that's when you realize that working out is not movement. Working out is training.
Mm-hmm.
And you no longer really use the word workout. It's like, I'm training. What are you training for? I'm training not to suck. Well, suck at what? Well, whatever the fuck I want to do.
Mm-hmm. Or training your shape, right? Like, I'm training my body to not be the shape of an orange or a pear.
Yeah, but it's to be prepared for whatever you want to do. So, like, for example, Alan got me into go-kart racing.
Mm-hmm.
I hopped in one of the fastest go-karts that they race.
And we're ready to go.
And drove the thing for like 30 laps. And the guys...
And I remember everybody just going, how the hell did you do that?
And I popped out of the go-kart and I like had a casual conversation with them. And all these guys are looking at me like, one, okay, yeah, you didn't drive it as fast as like the race pace is around the track, but this is your first time doing it. But two, how are you okay? And that's me. I train to prepare for the unknown.
Yeah, and I feel like Goggins is coming out here like, you train for life. I'm training for life.
Yeah.
And that's the reality here. And I want to build off of the question that Scott had, which was, what do you think about maybe selecting off somebody off of Instagram or social media influencer to help you? But the power, if you are just getting started, of being in person and having somebody one-on-one, being physically accountable to you, do you see that as a preferred method for somebody who's just getting started, maybe if they're intimidated by group classes?
100%. Yeah, the accountability in the gym is such a big aspect, because you will get in there and you might do something and you're on your third set and you have 5 sets and you know the next 2 sets are going to suck and you're like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
So you either have to, 1, have a way to hold yourself accountable, or 2, you're there with somebody and they're like, hey, we got sets 4 and 5. Like, come on, we got to get this going, and it's not going to feel good. So yes, having somebody with you in the gym, whether it's a one-on-one personal trainer in the scenario like you mentioned, or it's having a group-based instructor, or you're working out in a class with you and 4 of your friends, and like you do, 1, you don't want to cheat yourself, but 2, it's like they're already starting to do the 4th round, so you do the 4th round too.
And what do you think about like what that person might have as a differentiation prior to then just somebody giving you like a workout plan? Like, let's say you're working out, you know, do you find that with people who are just getting started that they can develop better habits quicker when they have that person there helping them out for the first time?
Yeah, so I think when it comes down to the people that are new, they don't know what they don't know. And so they don't know that you're getting the benefit from, really the benefit you're getting from the workout is by going through and finishing rounds 4 and 5, is really getting to that muscular fatigue where you can't do any more repetitions. Or, rounds 4 and 5 are the hardest part mentally. So this is mental training. When you're training in the gym, it is mental training. And so what I think is, and why I said they don't know what they don't know, is they don't know and they haven't done enough workouts to know that the benefit of what they're doing is when the workout sucks. And getting through that part of the workout is what's going to make them a better human being, a stronger human being, a faster human being, a better conditioned human being, tougher mentally, and able to just generally take on things that are harder in their life. And then hard things eventually become easy.
So there's things that I feel like people pick up from being in person in a gym that you just aren't really taught and aren't even going to be really marketed. Like someone might be out of breath at the water cooler and just sort of say, hey man, it feels like we're done, but we're actually only 60% of the way there, or whatever. And it's like, is that daunting? Is that spooky? Yes. But also you're not going to get that from some program that's on Instagram compared to if you're in a room with 7 or 8 people and
you're not going to push
dying.
yourself. You're not going to push yourself
and
as much.
Hearing how we're talking, I'm just saying, I think there's things that we learn as humans that aren't necessarily packaged like, here you go, this is what you're going through. It's more of like, you got to be there.
Yeah.
You have to be there.
Yeah. And the thing that comes to my mind when I'm hearing you guys talk about this is when you get to that point where you feel like you can't do anymore, what are some of the things that you found that help get you over that hump? Like, what helps you be either prepared or type of mental trick
where do you go,
to
Curtis?
get over that
Where do you
hump?
go?
So,
all right, we got it.
So you're not talking about in a workout. You're talking about when you start to feel like you're at the point where you're burning out.
No, you're saying it within a workout, right? Like doing reps or.
Yep. At that 60-70% mark,
Where
you're
does your
like, hey,
mind
we
go?
got to do this last rep or this last set. Where does your mind go? And what do you do to help be prepared for that last set?
So the evolution of my mind is going to give you a few different answers. So when I was first starting to be the closest aligned with people that are starting to get in the gym and starting their nutrition perspective or their nutrition track, my perspective in my brain was, even if it sucks, you have to find a way to get it done. Because what if this wasn't the gym? What if this was you and your kid's sick and you got to go to the hospital and you don't have a car and you got to do something to get your kid to the hospital and it's 3 miles away?
Mm-hmm. So
I don't care how out of shape you are. Some power within you is going to find a way to get your kid to the hospital.
Cue the Tony Robbins commercial.
But what I'm saying is, it's just like you can't quit on yourself. It might suck. It might not feel good. But the best thing that you could do is step back for a second, take a quick breather, realize that it doesn't matter how hard it hurts for the next 10 or 15 minutes. In 15 minutes, it's going to be over.
And so what I hear you saying is the pain of discipline is an easier pill to swallow than the pain of regret.
Yeah, 100%. Because when you get done with your workout, if this is group-based fitness, and you and your friends are together and everybody's like, man, that 5th round sucked, and you said you did 5 rounds, but you really only did 4, your friends aren't going to know that, and they're going to think that you did the workout, but you're going to know. And you're going to go home that night, and you're going to realize not only did your friends do more work than you do, but you cheated yourself.
Is there any preparation that helps you complete that so you don't have to feel that feeling of regret?
I don't let myself get to that point where I skip rounds and I skip reps, because I just say, if I know this is going to hurt, but I don't put the emphasis on what's going to hurt. I put the emphasis on what I can do to get through the hurt. And so if I'm doing something like, let's just say it's 10 squat cleans. Okay, I'm going to do this first squat clean as best I can. Do the first squat clean. Then I just have a quick mental check-in with myself, and this happens in milliseconds. Oh, I still feel good. Okay, I'm going to do a second one. Third one comes around, I still feel good. I'm going to do a third one. Okay, man, I'm starting to not feel as good. Okay, take a second. Breathe. Keep yourself as calm as possible. Start the next one. And I'm not worried that, like, oh, man, I still got to do 20 pull-ups and I still got to run a mile after this. I'm not thinking about those things. I'm just like, hey, I got 10 cleans I have to do. And you just want to slowly chip away at what it is that you're doing at that point in time in the workout and not be inundated by the other parts of the workout. That's a big parallel to the rest of your life. When you think about what you have to do for the day and you get anxiety, or you're riddled by everything you have to do, or, oh my gosh, things with your family life, or maybe your friendships are dwindling, or something's negative in your life, and you think about all the negative things around it, it's like there's not a path forward with that thinking. But what there is a path forward is focusing on what you can control. And what I can control at this point in time in my workout is this one rep I'm doing per set for what I have to do for this round. And just saying focused on one thing at a time will enable you to get through the workout. It's not going to feel good, for sure, but it will allow you to get through the workout with the lack of negativity.
And no regret.
No regret.
At the end of it. And I feel like in life, there's not going to really be a point where us men are like all circled up on a putting room with cigars, and we're like, man, I wish I didn't spend as much time in the gym, and I wish I didn't spend as much time with our kid. I feel like those two things is just time well spent.
Exactly. I think you'd be hard pressed to find somebody who
argued that they spent too much time with their kid, or
in the gym.
I'm too fit. My kids and I are too close. Like this is, I really messed up.
I mean, I'm sure that there's an excessive amount that can be there, but that is far, far, far beyond anything that is what we're talking about. Yeah, I agree with you. It's not like, oh, I spent all this time at work, and it's like, oh man, I really wish I wouldn't have spent that time.
I'm really
at work.
healthy, and my kids and I are really close.
Yeah. The only people are going to remember that you worked late are your kids, right? Nobody else is going to remember that, but your kids are going to remember how much time you spent with them and how fit you were because you rode motorcycles with your kids when you're 50 and your kids are 20.
It's about the age, yeah. When a kid's like, yeah, like my dad doesn't do too much. How old is he? Oh, 49. Oh, that's bummer.
Yeah.
Oh, my dad likes to ski. How old is he? 69?
Yeah.
I don't got to see him. I already know he's about it.
Hey, man, in business, I tell you what, dude.
The most successful people I know in business
are the fittest motherfuckers I've ever met in my life.
Period.
Yeah.
And the people that I like to hang out with tend to be the fittest people.
Yeah.
Just because the mentality that you have in the gym, when you see somebody doing something that most people can't do, and they just do it and they make it look easy, and then you go to do it and you're like, holy shit.
Well, that and like, what's the correlation of how many super, super, super fit people have we met that their mind is just mad soft and like they're in La La Land?
It's not.
Maybe like 1% of the time. Most of the time.
No, not even that. They've cultivated their mind.
They're trained.
To be that successful in the gym, your mentality has got to be on point. And so, like, if you struggle with motivation, find the nearest Gold's Gym and work out at that place. Mm-hmm. And I hope it's not an hour away from you because people at Gold's Gyms...
Hold on. I agree with you on what the point you're trying to make. Yeah. I disagree on the wording.
But you're just saying find motivation.
It is not about motivation. It is about discipline.
Okay. And I say it's about inspiration. So maybe it's all three. Because I want to be inspired. Then I will be motivated. Then you know what I mean? If I'm inspired and inspiring people, to me, that's the definition of my life.
Is everybody going to have inspiration or motivation? There's going to be days when you don't have them. And so what are you going to need every day? Every day you're going to need discipline. And so discipline, like I've always said, like at work or at the gym or whatever else, it's like at work, if I'm not feeling that great, I said my average day has to be better than everybody else's good day.
Yep.
Right. And like me in the gym, if I don't want to be in the gym, you know what I do? I get my ass to the gym and I pick a series of movements that are full body movements. So I minimize the amount of time that I have to be at the gym.
And where'd you
Right.
adopt that from?
Oh, well, probably the guy on the screen. So that's where we're at. And so at the end of the day, it comes down to discipline. And so it's discipline in showing up. It's discipline in doing the right things. It's discipline in knowing where you're currently at and where your current skill sets are. But now also, I think there's other things that you wanted to talk about too, right? In relation to not only just being healthy, but also being your best self, which has to do more than just being physically healthy and fit.
Yeah. So being your best self, when you train, not only are you training yourself physically, you're training yourself mentally. You are just making yourself a sharper individual than you were the day before. And that's really what it is. You're competing against yourself. You're being the best human being that you can be. And that bleeds over into every other part of your life, whether that's your relationships, whether that's your job, whether that's with your kids, whether that's with other people around you. That aura that you bring, dude, it radiates. And you're going to find that there's people that aren't going to like that because they wish they had what you have currently, and you want to steer clear of those people. But for the people around you, you're going to start to see that you're going to attract more people like yourself. The people around you may start to be more like yourself. And I'm not saying that that's groupthink, but I'm saying if you're the leader amongst your friends and you get fit, and then your friends want to get fit, and then you all become fit, and suddenly, like, maybe their friends start becoming fit, or the spouses are in on the game too. It becomes
and you're saying the word fit, but we can just say healthy, right?
Yeah,
healthy. Like
we're talking to humans. Let's be very general.
Yeah.
We're talking about humans getting healthy.
Rounded, right?
But inside
Well-rounded.
of that, there's
Mentally,
alpha males that are like ripped out of their mind who just dominate every day.
And it doesn't even matter about gender, right? It could be anybody who's there. But I think you guys nailed down a really good point here. Whatever lifestyle you are looking to achieve or you're looking to have consistently for the rest of your life, yes, you're going to need discipline in getting there, but you're also going to need a mirroring from the people who are around you. If they're not doing those things, it's not going to help you, motivate you, keep you down that path.
You're also not going to want to be next to those people. If you're being disciplined, both mentally, spiritually, and physically, and you're around people that aren't doing that, get rid of those people. Because those are the people that are going to drag you down. And you've set up this discipline in your life where you know that this is working this is working the best for you, and you're getting the best possible outcomes. And those people aren't getting the same things you're getting because they're not putting in the work that you're doing, and they're not taking care of themselves the way that you're taking care of yourself. Again, mentally, spiritually, physically.
And let's give an example here.
It's going to spoil the harvest. Like
it is. It's going to spoil the harvest.
The guy on the screen right now, Scott, is a prime example of this. You know, Scott was married with your son, right? And then we reconnected after high school. We played golf together in high school and college, you and Wally in college. And, it was like, wow, here is somebody whose method of operating is very similar to ours. And when we looked at that, it was really easy to assimilate together and, have some of our professional tracks overlap. And it's like, boom, now we're here doing the WAC Attack podcast. So, case in point, right? Scott didn't work with us prior to doing the podcast. Scott was doing everything else with us. And then it was like, hey, he had all these creative skills that aligned with this thing that we were doing. And boom, now we have this really great mirroring in our life with prime example, Scott. So.
And to that point, this has to do with both of you guys and whatever, but we talked about a quote when I was on the podcast as a guest, and I called it, "The only way out is through." And then you guys said your own versions of it.
The only way to is through.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And here's another one. Because I write these down my entire life. So I was going to get these tattooed X, Y, and Z. So my point is these mean a lot to me. So this helps me with gym, this lifestyle, and mentality in general. So that one is a good one. Then also I was going to say this whole workout thing and just in general for life is quality is not an action, it's a habit.
It is.
And so when I was young and I was just like, I'm going to half-ass X, Y, and Z. But then when at work, I'm going to be quality in those things. I'm going to see my parents and be quality with this thing. And so when I read that, I was like, that's a great
I heard
great
a quote.
point.
How you do anything is how you do everything.
Dang. It's almost like we're twins and we got this telekinesis thing going on.
It's true. And I'll tell you what, when you're in the gym, put your frickin' weights away and put them away in the right spot because it's no different than what you would do anywhere else.
Yeah.
Okay. And how you do anything is how you do everything.
Right. And wipe up your sweat.
Yeah. Yes.
All right.
But to that
That's a good
to
quote.
that
Yeah.
point, when you're in the gym, and this is one thing that if you're new, you're not going to understand. Once you've worked out for a year or so, you'll start to realize it. When you're in the gym or you're doing some type of movement, it is mentally demanding, not physically demanding. We all know it's physically demanding, but it's mentally demanding for you to be focused in on every rep, giving effort all the time, controlling your movement, staying in a quality position,
Posture.
hitting optimal range of motions. You cannot go to the gym and be mentally bogged down. And this is back to the preparation. Prepare more.
Yeah, I agree totally with that. Great piece.
Last quote. Discipline equals freedom. That's Jocko. So it's just him talking about discipline so much.
It is so true.
Because if you're disciplined, then you have the freedom to go to the fair, eat a fucking Twinkie, drink a little bit of alcohol. If this is my life, because I've worked out for the past 3 years straight. Just about.
Scott, do you know what luck is?
It's when, hold on, preparation meets opportunity.
Exactly. And how
he didn't get me internet.
And how do you prepare?
With my pants down. Just kidding. Go.
You said
discipline equals freedom. And being quality in my actions.
When you're disciplined in everything you do, you are going to be prepared.
Luckier by probability, even though luck is just like a manufactured thing, but
when opportunity knocks at your door, how prepared are you?
Yeah.
And you're prepared by being disciplined. And this is what I said earlier. It's like, Curtis, what are you prepared for? I'm prepared for whatever the fuck I want to do.
Yeah,
I should have got a Goggins soundbite for this. It's like, I'm preparing for life, motherfucker.
Haters can suck my...
Yeah. No, seriously. And that's one of the big things. It's like, you don't need to be training for something all the time.
Yeah.
You should just be keeping yourself prepared. Because what happens when your kid is 12 years old and suddenly they're a rock star at some sport and you need to go out and help train your kid?
Yeah.
Or what happens if you, God forbid, like you have to be physically in shape to do something to save somebody's life?
Hey, and
in addition to that, or let's say you want to be healthy and you want to be able to do things with your kid, like go walk around Disneyland.
Yes, or grandkids.
For 12 miles a day.
Yes.
2 or 3 days of the week, that type of stuff too as well.
Yeah.
So it's not just like, hero stuff. It's like, being your best self every day for multiple days in a row and not being exhausted if you do something physically demanding one day, having the energy to continue, right? It's not saying that you don't take a day off. It's just saying you have the ability to get through high caloric exertion days, multiple days in a row.
Or high stress days or high stress situations, yeah.
And I know that some of our listeners or followers, whatever you want to call them, are a little bit younger. So I just would like to be the other side of the, conversation here. Or you could be getting really fit because you're single. You know what I mean? Like your inspiration, your discipline. Literally,
we're gonna talk about this. Let's talk about this right now because I feel like a lot of our demographic is 18 to like 40-year-old dudes,
males.
If you're single, being focused and being disciplined is the best thing that you could do. Don't be focused on the pretty face in front of you or what you see in front of you. Be focused on what you want to do, what you want to get out of life. Be as disciplined as possible and keep your eye on the prize that you want to deliver value for you, whether that is your job, whether that's how much money you want to make, whether that's what you want to be in life, how fit you want to be. I don't care. Keep laser focused in on what you want.
Lifestyle.
Because as you get through that process and you get closer to your destination, you start to attract the things that you want to be
in those environments.
And you do not want to meet the wrong person at the right time. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what I'm saying is
the right person at the wrong time.
The wrong person at the right time. He's telling it to somebody who did that, but yeah.
Oh shit.
If you meet the wrong person at the right time, so let's say like you're running solo, right? You're single.
Yeah.
And you don't have a girlfriend and maybe you haven't been laid in 6 months. You could meet the wrong person at the right time because guess what you want to do? But if you stay laser focused and you say, "Hey, I know that this person is not going to help me get to my goals, where I want to be," don't spend time with that person. That's why I say be laser focused in on what you want out of your life because you want to meet the right person at the right time, not the wrong person at the right time.
Now, that makes much more sense to me. Thank you for explaining
I'm sort of just spitballing this, but to me, it almost sounds like if you have a lifestyle and there's certain environments, so like what you're saying is staying laser focused. If I knew my lifestyle and those core components and I just stay in those environments and don't, gallop with the antelopes outside of those, environments, then it's like you might as well be meeting and going on dates with some people that either work at the gym, go to the gym, or learning how to work out, or
you might
go
meet
get
your
smoothies.
spouse. You might meet your spouse at the gym, because guess what? You guys might be aligned there at the same time being working out. But when you guys both leave the gym, you guys are both going and getting it.
Yeah.
That's the type of thing that you're going to be attracted to. And you're going to start to see that stuff more, because the more disciplined you get with yourself inside the gym and outside the gym is one part of your day. What are you doing for the other 23 hours of your day?
Yeah.
The way you do anything is the way you do everything.
Yeah.
When you're focused on 24 hours of your day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, you are going to attract the person you want in your life. You're not going to allow somebody to walk into your life and meet you at the right time because you're lonely and they're lonely too, but they're not good for you long term.
Yeah, which is ultimately just a lack of control. It sounds like it's like you could just have complete control of your life, and there's better opportunities that can be a bit more calculated, and instead of just improvising on, this walked in. It's like,
this walked in. It's like, this might have walked in the door, but is this good for me?
Yeah, what's your trajectory with this just walked in?
Exactly.
And
here's my litmus test. Here's my litmus test. Guys, think about this. The girl that you're with right now, are they a good mother? If they're not, see you later.
Yeah.
Right? Because eventually, at some point, they're going to be the mother of your children.
And if they don't want to have kids with you, then
something's wrong. Or if they're not going to be a good mom to their own kids, what does that tell you?
Yeah. Side note on this. On dating websites, I click physically fit, like making sure that the fitness thing, and that's a great filter. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. And, I think
it's a real one. Use it, folks.
If you're considering, as a single person and you want to be your best self, and you're, wanting to find the right person at the right time, not the wrong person at the right time, as much as people hate on the Liver King, I feel like he's got, I think his 10 ancestral tenets.
His nine ancestral tenets.
9 ancestral tenets.
I said 10 earlier, sorry.
And I think they're incredibly valuable, because while he might be this model on Instagram, if you don't know who he is, go look up Liver King.
Or don't.
But he's got these 9 tenets for operating that sum up what we are discussing here, I think, quite nicely. And he always says, you want to attract your complementary opposite, which is basically your best self attracts your best partner, whoever that is to you. Mm-hmm. And then also you need to be disciplined, but he talks about, grounding, which is, making sure you're connected with the earth, getting sun on your eyes, face, and skin. It sets your circadian rhythm to help you with sleeping, making sure that you're blocking, artificial lights at night from messing with your circadian rhythm to, I think his tenet was shielding. So that was,
shielding. I was looking it up, but he's got 9 of them. I'm trying to find them, but keep talking, Alan.
Yeah. And then, when I consider like all the things that he's preaching, he is actually, in my mind, he was the first guy to really get a significant amount of popularity and talk about these really basic concepts, which, by the way, are all free.
Yeah.
Right? There's no subscription necessary. And that was sort of what went off on the light bulb for me. I get some people don't like him for what he did with the whole steroid scandal and everything else. But, the way he operates with how he takes care of his family, they do things together. Fitness is his number one focus. Eating healthy he's always disciplined. He's always working out. He's model teaching and preaching the ancestral lifestyle.
Yes.
Right. Which is, up with the sun, basically down with the sun, shielding yourself from EMF, shielding yourself from artificial light in the evenings. Making sure that you're grounding yourself, and grounding yourself is basically like walking around bare feet out in nature. And it actually can change the charge of your body. And there's actually some studies now that have come out with
reduces inflammation,
amongst a bunch of other things.
So I want to add on to what you're saying here. The 9 tenets are sun, shield, sleep, fight, connect, eat, bond, cold, and move. So let's talk about sun. Okay, it's really important for you to get the morning sunlight in your eyes. Thank you, Andrew Huberman. He's actually put the science behind this. If you don't know who Andrew Huberman is, he has his own podcast on Spotify, and he's a professor of
Huberman Labs.
Yeah, he's a professor in neurobiology and ophthalmology at Stanford. He's one of the best people, if not the best person in the space, talking about that. You also need vitamin D, and the sun is the most important. And you got to get the sun through the eyes, on the face, and the skin, to quote Liver King. And then the next one is shield. So you want to shield yourself from the realities of modern life. And this is toxic things in your household. This is like EMFs, or electromagnetic radiation from your phones and your devices. You want to shield yourself from all of the harmful things that don't help your body out in modern life. There's sleep, which is one of the most important. Guys need more or less sleep than women, but men need, on average, you want to get, you need 7 to function, but you really need 8 to be optimal, and women need more than men do. So taking that into account, you have fight. So fighting this is what we're talking about when we're saying training. Training is fighting is like you have to be able to be prepared and willing to protect what you love. And the fight, Liver King does a better job at describing this one than I'm doing it right now, but it's correlated to move somewhat. The connect is like your family, your friends.
Yeah, family bonding.
Right.
Or time with friends, etc. Whoever your tribe is.
Community.
If what happened with COVID was not a testament to the fact of how important the connect tenet is, I don't know what is. Eat is a very important part for recovery, but this is not eat whatever the F you want. And we're going to talk about this right after this, but this is eating. Liver King likes subprimal, right? He wants you to be a primal, right? So don't eat shit. Don't be a vegan. I'm sorry, but I will talk about why I don't think that's a good option. It's basically animal based. So you want to eat animal based foods, quality animal based foods. Bond is the same thing, but bond is more of a like a deep friendship with somebody that you have. So that could be with your spouse. That could be with like a best friend.
Yeah,
like,
bonding is experiences.
Yep.
So it's basically developing. It's not just spending time. It's actually going out and doing something that is building the bond between the people that are doing it.
Like going to the Electric Daisy Carnival with your best friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
There's cold, which is really important from a scientific perspective. The adrenals in your body respond very nicely to cold therapy for the human body. It's really good for recovery and a variety of other pieces. There's a lot of science in there. Andrew Huberman talks about it. He has a couple of people on his podcast that go into grave detail about the science behind it. And there's a lot of people offering products in the space now, but pretty much anyone you see, like Cam Haines, who's an ultra marathoner, I think.
Yeah.
And then you have Jocko, and you got
Jocko Willing,
Huberman, and you got Rogan. I mean, I do it. High-end performance athletes all do it. There's a reason why they do it.
Yeah.
And then move, right? You need to move the body every day. Your body was meant to move. I mean, 12,000 steps is what people say. I think steps are a bullshit metric. I'm just going to come out and say that. Walking is underrated, but steps are not a quality indicator of movement. I think they're just a target for people to reach, but it's not an optimal way for you to really get quality movement in daily.
Insert quote, body in motion stays in motion. I hear a lot of
body in motion
Body
stays
in
in
motion
motion.
stays in motion. I like that.
Yeah, the only downside, is we got so much light here that, Alan, if you wanted to talk to me, it's a little hard for me to see what you'd want to show me. So that's the Liver King's 9 ancestral tenets. But kind of diving into the second half of the podcast here, we had talked about what we need to do from like if you're new to the fitness perspective, and we talked about nutrition as like a fitness and nutrition, but we didn't really
talk about nutrition.
Well,
I've got a bullet
title
point here. I got the Queen Bee. Not to ruin your segue, but I want the camera. The camera needs to be on him. Switch it on him. There you go. I posted a video the other day and tagged somebody. Yeah. That person checked out
Dr. Rhonda Patrick.
How cool is that?
That's freaking sweet.
Yeah. Shout out to Dr.
That's
Rhonda
sweet.
Patrick.
I would love to talk to her. So I wanted to say that I had said fitness and nutrition, but I didn't talk about nutrition. So I want to talk about nutrition now. So there are 3 people in the space that all coming from different angles, and they didn't really know each other up until very recently. These 3 people are Paul Saladino, the Liver King.
I wish we had his first name, Liver King.
Brian Johnson.
Oh, never mind. I like Liver King.
I fucking killed that guy. I'm the Liver King. Now he's Liver King 2.0.
Yeah. Okay.
And then Max Lugavere.
Max. Okay.
So here's 3 people. Paul Saladino is a doctor, and he realized that you get very little, if any, nutrition training while being an MD. So he dove off the deep end because not only is he a smart dude, but he figured out what is the optimal diet for humans. Then you have the Liver King,
Mm-hmm.
whose 2 kids were going in anaphylactic shock when they were younger, like a year old. And if he didn't make a change, his kids were going to die. And then there's Max Lugavere, who lost his mother to dementia. And my understanding is he's a journalist or reporter or something of the sort. I forget that part about his history.
You're right. I
But-
didn't forget. That's right.
But he wanted to study once his mom was passing of dementia. He was like, hey, like, what's causing this? What can we do to help, eliminate dementia?
He pretty much tried to hack dementia, right? Like
Exactly.
he's like the best ever now.
All 3 of these guys had different reasons why they did what they did, and they all ended up in the same place.
Mm-hmm.
90% of what every one of these guys say has congruency to the other. Max Lugavere has some small differences,
Yeah.
but his are all scientific based around dementia and issues as we get older from a brain perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And so for Max Lugavere, he's saying, hey, if you eat an animal-based diet plus a few other things, that's going to give you the best probability that you're not going to have any of these mental issues later in life.
For mental cognition.
Exactly. And when I said 90%, the Liver King and Paul Saladino and Max Lugavere all agree that an animal-based diet, which Paul Saladino has defined
Mm-hmm.
of what animal-based diet is the optimal diet for humans to eat. Let me explain what an animal-based diet is. Paul Saladino, we're talking about basically red meat. So this is going to be your elk, deer, bison. Venison is usually what all the deers are categorized.
Yeah.
So venison, bison, and beef are usually what you're going to see there. And then he gets his carbohydrate sources from raw honey and organic fruits. Okay. And then he has raw dairy in there as well. So raw dairy is equally important because raw dairy has all of the nutrients you need, the micronutrients, to help the body, not only from what you need to function, but also a hydration perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And when we heat the milk up, which is what we do modernly to get rid of the bad bacteria from a pasteurization perspective, that was something they put in around 100 years ago because they had a bad batch of milk because the cows got fed the wrong thing and they realized they had to safeguard people from getting sick. Turns out if you take care of the animals take care of you. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
But all 3 of these guys derived to the same place and they didn't know each other. They have no influence from outside funding to put them into the place.
No biases, no agendas.
No biases, and they all land in the same place.
Well,
and these are 3 smart dudes.
Liver King and Paul Saladino, they knew each other through ancestral supplements, but Paul Saladino only found Liver King because he had already gone all the way down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All of these guys now know each other.
In conclusion, but not in the journey.
Yes. At the start of the journey, none of these people knew each other.
Correct.
All the research, all the hours spent.
These guys have
all
all talked to each
individual
other.
paths.
They've all talked to each other. Exactly. So when all 3 of these guys align on an animal-based diet, I go and say, okay, I have 15 years in the fitness and nutrition space. And I look at my journey and I say, holy shit. This, not only is this optimal, and I could prove it to you through my own anecdotes, but if these guys are also saying it and a ton of other people are having success, let's set the record straight on what's going to be the most beneficial. So if you're just getting into nutrition and you're getting to listen to this podcast or hear some of those people talk, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're getting it straight out of the gate and you're not going to have to figure it out. So a couple of the topics that I had put together for this specific segment, all right, I had always want to figure out what is my best diet. Okay, so here's I'm going to take you guys through a talking point, a key learning, and a simple takeaway. So my first segment is food is fuel. When I was 17 years old, I wrestled for most of my junior high school and high school, or for all my junior high school and high school career. And one of my talking points is I went from wrestling at 189 pounds to 171 pounds. I had to cut I weighed 185 at the time. I had to cut down to 171. When I wrestled at 189 pounds, only weighing 185 pounds, I ate whatever I wanted, and I felt great. And I had never had that much energy in a wrestling match before in my life. When I cut down to 171 pounds, I had no energy to wrestle. Food is fuel is my simple takeaway from this. You must eat to perform. And if you want to develop your body, you must eat. So that's the takeaway.
Mm.
The second piece is the importance of eating to meet your body's needs and activity levels. So I'm going to take you guys through another segment of my journey where I went from 171 pounds at the end of my senior year of high school to 220 pounds. Holla, Alan actually weighed more than I did and had more muscle than I did at the time, in 2 years. So Alan and I basically just worked out like monsters, ate, ironically,
everything.
Probably a 70% based animal diet.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we worked out till failure 5-6 days a week for almost 2 years
sometimes
straight.
two times a day.
So
And
that's from 18 to 20 then?
18 to 20. I was 220 pounds. Alan was 240 pounds.
Yeah, it was somewhere right between there.
Lifting big weight at 20 years old. And
Mhm.
for males out there between the ages of 18 and 22, your body's a natural testosterone production machine. Do not put steroids in your body. It's producing them naturally.
Yeah. And for those of you off screen
Or
thinking I look
testosterone.
smaller compared to Curtis, I can stand next to him next time on the podcast. Just don't feel good today.
Clothes
So-
are optional.
So the next one is maintenance mode. So you brought this up earlier. I had stopped working out to start a business, which was 3 Ventures. My simple takeaway is it's important to eat during training and non-training days. You need to feed your body to recover, and you need to feed your body to perform. All right. So the last piece is, from a CrossFit perspective, this is a little bit more of a longer story, but I'll take you through a couple of the various key simple takeaways and key learnings. But it's really developing an understanding for how nutrition affects performance. So the talking points here is the old school healthy diet of chicken, rice, and broccoli. And really, that doesn't work long term, because in the order, like the rankings of protein, I rank protein from chicken is like much lower, like 6 or 7 on the list than some of the other animals that I could eat.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, you do need to eat big, and you need to eat when you're hungry. If your body's hungry, that's your body's way of saying you need to eat.
Listen to your body.
And just know, everybody on this podcast right now, I'm hungry, and I'm sacrificing that so you guys can have this great information.
While they eat,
Thank you, Leighton and
right?
Alan.
They're eating.
And there was a point during my CrossFit career that I did go vegan because I was having very bad gastrointestinal issues. I didn't realize much about the gut microbiome. This was, 6 years ago. And I started removing ingredients out of my meal prep one by one. It took me about 8 weeks. And once I removed meat, I stopped having basically issues. I stopped farting.
Mm.
That was really beneficial for me for like 2 months, and really bad for me for like the remaining 4 months. So I went plant-based, and I got off that really quick, because not only did I feel good because I was removing, I removed something that was causing me issues, but what was the actual root problem, not the masked problem, was that the sourcing of the ingredients that I was eating was far more important than the type of food I was eating.
Question: Did
Explain that.
you say vegetarian before you explain that? Did you say vegetarian or vegan?
Vegan. So
Okay.
I said plant-based. I wasn't full-blown vegan.
Because I've done full blown vegan for like 3 or 4 months, and anyone else who says they've done that, I got like mad respect for, or you're like mad crazy. But anyways,
I called it
all of
plant.
it's hard.
I called it plant-based because I still had leather stuff in my house. But
I'm just saying I didn't have butter, and I didn't realize how much I love butter, right?
Yeah.
Honey, and I'm just like, I hate this diet the
Yeah.
first day. It's
yeah,
like,
so
this isn't fair.
it wasn't full-blown vegan, but it's basically being
Yeah,
vegan.
strict.
So
understand.
I called it
You,
plant-based.
over 8 weeks, you subtracted.
6 months is how.
Okay, whatever. It sounds like you subtracted your diet down, whittled it down, and found
Whittled it down after about 2 months.
Found it
Found
wasn't
out
the meat's fault. It's more of sourcing.
It was the meat that was causing the issues, but when I removed the meat, I stopped farting.
okay.
So I was like, oh, this vegan thing, people are talking about this Game Changers thing came out on Netflix. I think that was like a year or two later after this. But I kind of did some research, and I was like, oh, but hey, there's some people in the space that are full-blown vegan. Being vegan sounds nice on the cover. It's like, oh, we get to save the planet and we get to save animals. It's like, pause. When you actually dig into it, you realize that that's nice, but we'll get to why that's not nice, because it really comes down to how the animals are treated in regenerative agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
So, kind of going back to why being vegan worked for me temporarily.
Social justice warriors, not you, but for other folks, that's it's more of the idea or idea if you live in the
It's
East
the
Coast.
ideology that it's like, if
Yeah.
you're vegan, you're doing the right thing
and
for
the
the
sense
world.
of community, right?
Well, also, it's one of the reasons why the carnivore diet has the same effects as being vegan does. What happens is, being vegan and being carnivore, they're the same in the fact that they're both elimination diets.
Yeah.
One eliminates the other, right? And so when you think about that, they both work because what you're actually doing is you're removing the harmful products that are associated with preservatives, glyphosate, everything else that's in there. And what you're doing is, like you said earlier, in the gut microbiome health, what you're doing is by removing those, you're actually changing your gut microbiome health. And that's what people who go on those, they have good results short term. But like this whole podcast has been talking about, this is long-term sustainable for life. And so now continue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So to that point,
yeah,
when I removed the meats, one, I didn't have red meats in my diet. I had a lot of white meats, so like chicken.
Which was a mistake, but at that time, with your knowledge,
it's not as nutrient dense. So I thought I was doing the right thing at the right time. So I was like, hey, this being vegan thing is cool. Well, I stopped eating dairy and I was able to breathe better and a couple other things. I'm like, wow, I felt great for 2 months. And then I really started to feel like shit the next 4 months.
Yeah.
So I added seafood in. Back in my day, I was like, oh, I could be like pescatarian. So I ate some seafood and I was like, wow, I feel great. And I smashed another workout. And then I realized, like, wait, I added an animal product back in and I felt better. Full-blown switch to an animal-based style diet where instead of not eating red meat, I started eating a lot more red meat.
Yeah.
And then what it really came down to, what I started to find out, was the sourcing of your ingredients is the most important. So this is why I advocate for an animal-based diet. Monocrop agriculture, mono being singular, agriculture being like the growing of food. Everything that you have that's plant-based, it is sprayed with so much toxic stuff from a variety of different perspectives.
That, and where does it come from? The soil. What's in the soil? We're not really treating our soil. Our soil's supposed to be living. We just keep using the same dirt on the
or
on the
spraying
surface
the same shit into the soil, and then that gets into the food.
Yeah, our soils are not happy. Anyways, continue.
So Alan had mentioned glyphosate, right?
Yeah.
That's actually Roundup. Roundup was no longer going to be produced now by Baird.
Yeah, but there's going to be a spinoff. But yeah, it's trying to just only eat vegetables and not look into the details. That's your own fault.
Yeah, you should assume that any chemical is guilty until proven innocent. That touches your food.
Try growing your own food.
Yes,
and then think about what you eat and X, Y, and Z.
Exactly.
I come from farmers. Walnut, corn, up in Gridley, Northern California. So I'm no yuppie, but I'm also no country boy. So that's where I have this happy medium.
So everybody's experience with veganism was like really drawing this thing out. But really, what I was trying to say is veganism for me really placed an importance on the food quality and sourcing. So the key learnings that I took away from all of this were your macronutrients, your total daily calorie and macronutrient intake is the key to recovery. So on a vegan diet, you might be able to meet your macronutrient profile, but you're not actually getting bioavailable macronutrients.
Explain that.
So bioavailable is where your body can actually absorb the vitamins and minerals, aka the micronutrients, in your food into the body. And really, a lot of those vitamins and minerals that you get, that are really bioavailable, come in the form of fats.
Okay,
and guess where you get fats from?
Meat, red meat,
animal-based products.
Here's the thing that really blows my mind. Okay, I went on the carnivore diet for hardcore 8 weeks.
I lived with you,
right? You can attest to that.
I was there.
Best I've ever felt in my life, and I've since then stayed on a very heavy animal-based diet. What I found when you talk about things being bioavailable was that actually when I went to the bathroom, my stool was significantly less in volume. And then my wife, who was pregnant a couple months later, I kept her going because I do a good majority of the cooking in the house. So she was forced to eat what I was eating. And so she starts eating a lot more meat. And there's two things that happened that really like stood this out to me of my cases of why I'm supporting what you're saying. The first one was she asked me, she's like, why is it so small? And I said, because that is because the body is physically digesting almost all of the food that we are eating and turning it down into all of the things that the body needs to function. That's my take on it.
Less waste.
The second thing that really supported this to me is the doctor who delivered our daughter looked at me and goes, I've had thousands of deliveries, and this is the most healthy placenta I have ever seen in my life.
Yeah, so I'm really glad that you said that because I saw a photo of a vegetarian or vegan placenta, and as somebody who ate really high-quality animal-based diet, I'm telling you, if you're a vegan and you saw this picture, you would say, to hell with being a social justice warrior.
Yeah.
I'm going to go learn about regenerative agriculture, and I'm going to realize that if you don't feed cows corn, wheat, and soy, that they don't fart, and if you feed them what they're naturally supposed to eat like humans, you have less of the greenhouse gas emissions. And so it's actually better for the environment, not worse, because there's carbon capture in the ground on regenerative agriculture. When you see that placenta, you would shit yourself and say, my child was born on a vegan diet like this. You have already put your child behind. That picture, they say pictures say 1,000 words. That picture is ingrained in my head, and I am seeing it right now. And I hope that whoever is a vegan goes and looks this up. Vegan placenta versus animal-based placenta. Find the image on Google Images.
Yeah, I'll pull it up right now, and I'll let you guys continue to talk. We'll pull it up before we go.
If you have not had a child yet, you won't understand this, but I've had my first child. Alan's had his first child. Scott has had a child. When you see the birth happen and you realize all of the magic that happens to create a child, and you actually get to see the placenta is the organ of life. Mm-hmm. If that thing looks as bad as it did in the photo that I saw,
it's almost like you're having your kids while you're on drugs.
Exactly.
Like,
no, it is.
Yeah.
It's the equivalent. I bet you if you grabbed
a meth placenta.
A meth placenta, and you looked at a vegan placenta and an animal-based placenta, the meth and the vegan placenta would look
You'd be able to
like.
guess.
Yeah, and I don't mean to be rude, but we have a friend who actually had to go into early labor because they had to induce her into labor because the placenta was failing a couple weeks early.
But we don't know this person's diet, or is this relevant?
She was all vegan.
Okay. So we're not professionals and we don't know all the details, but that does sound...
Well, I can tell you some of the reasons that
similar.
might correlate to why. So I'm going to jump back into the key learnings here. So I left with total daily calorie and macronutrient intake is the key to recovery. Okay. Another key learning is don't eat a low-fat diet as they are deficient in bioavailable micronutrients. You actually need to have fat in your diet. So these diets where you don't have red meat in your diet, I want to put a very clear stipulation here. You want to be eating grass-fed, grass-finished, wild red meat. You do not want industrialized meat fed corn, wheat, and soy because the omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acid profile in those meats is, generally speaking, in industrialized farms, about 12-1 versus grass-fed, grass-finished is about 1.2 to 2-1. So the key takeaway here is the omega-6s increase the inflammation in the body, and you want to have less of those. And so when you eat a better taken care of animal, you are going to get a better product. And so the animal fat part of this is really why I advocate for an animal-based diet, and especially whole milk. If you suffer with being like chronically dehydrated, raw milk is one of the best things that you could do to hydrate yourself because it has the proper micronutrient profile that are bioavailable for your body to actually be hydrated. Hydrated is not just the water you drink, it is the micronutrients in the blood as well. So the next piece is your body needs carbohydrates and is necessary for optimal energy levels. I am very sorry to everybody out there who is keto, even though keto technically would fall under an animal-based diet.
Shots fired.
Shots fired. Keto is a tool, not a diet. And it's not something that you would probably see done in full-blown, like non-modern lifestyle. Mm-hmm. Your body does work with it, but your body needs carbohydrates. And so I'm not knocking ketones because ketones play a very important role, and this is a bodily function. And if you do fasting or anything like that, you may put your body in ketosis. But again, it's a tool, not a diet. That's my perspective on it, and I'd like to talk with somebody a little bit more because everything that I've read and the people that I follow in the space are all saying a very similar thing. And I've personally said that it's a tool, not a diet. That's my own statement. Number 4 is, the best source of protein is grass-fed and finished red meat. That's venison, bison, and beef. On my last point, I forgot to say something here, but you want to prioritize carbohydrates from fruit, honey, and dairy. You don't want to add sugar, refined grains, and processed foods. So the 5th one is saturated fats are good and critical for bodily function. Think raw whole milk, cheese, butter, ghee, tallow, and fatty meats. Saturated fats have been demonized. We could talk about that on a subsequent episode, but just know that saturated fats are actually what you want. And then the sixth one is hydration is water plus micronutrients. A lot of people may overlook this, but you need sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, and phosphorus along with water to be hydrated. You can find all of these in dairy and fruits. If you drink a glass of whole raw milk and you eat fruits, you're going to be better from a hydration perspective on a daily basis.
Let me add to this as a everyday Joe. I like liquid IV.
Yes.
I like to stay hydrated. I like to get my vitamins and minerals.
Yeah, and then God, what's the other product? There's liquid IV, and then there's also LMNT. The letter L, the letter M, the letter N, the letter T. When you go and you look at what's in all these things,
It's what you need.
It's everything that I'm talking about minus the water, because you put these in water.
Mm-hmm.
It's the optimal profile that you need on a daily basis as a human being. From a hydration perspective, everything feels harder than it is when you're not hydrated. My Whoop strap data, I can attest to this. On a couple of days where I've been dehydrated, I go and I do a workout. My heart rate is 12 to 20 beats higher than it normally should be, and I feel like I get floored in a workout. So this is that whole prepare more piece.
You should have drank
You should have
the
taken care
day
of yourself.
before and the morning of.
Yeah, so not being hydrated will result in a reduction in blood volume, decreased skin blood flow, decreased sweat rate, increased core temperature. When your body temperature increases, your ability to move decreases past a certain temperature, and an increased rate of muscle glycogen use. Glycogen is the fuel source for your muscles immediately, and if you're dehydrated, you're going to deplete those sources a lot faster. All of these are negatively impact your ability to perform at your highest level. And then 7 is ingredient sourcing. Raw/lightly pasteurized, non-homogenized dairy, grass-fed, grass-finished red meat, pasture-raised organic eggs, organic fruits, raw honey, and organic for everything when possible is really what I mean by ingredient sourcing. We won't dive into why that's important, but there's a lot of evidence if you go and do some Google searches. And then really is, that was my nutrition takeaway. So how I got there is, as a recap, the old school bodybuilder diet. I then went into a vegan diet, and then I went a full-blown animal-based diet. I've tried a variety of different things, and I put those things in serious practice. You guys know me. I cook in my household every Sunday. I eat the way I eat. You guys have seen me eat. I've done those things, and I can tell you that the best I feel is on the animal-based diet. Tenfold.
I totally agree. Now, to finish this up on the point that we were talking about earlier about the placentas.
Yes.
The difference between being
you got it.
vegan
You
and
got
the
it.
difference between being animal-based.
Show it.
Okay, this is
He always shows you. He never does camera 3. What?
Here we go. So
Oh.
this is the
This-
vegan placenta on the left.
On the left. Yes.
Versus the animal-based placenta on the right.
All right.
Now you can look at the richness and
Show
the
Scott's
color.
face. Show Scott's face.
And
He's like,
you can look at the richness and the color here. And now effectively my wife's placenta looked a lot more like the one on the right, except my wife's was significantly more vibrant. You could see the veins, you could see everything else. And the doctor had said the reason why we were able to go so long past her due days because the placenta is functioning so very well, right? Versus our friend who's vegan, who she just recently had to be induced early because, the placenta is not functioning. And when you think about this, you are probably not getting enough iron if you're not eating enough meat, especially as a female.
Switch
right?
back to the people just for the sake of being a viewer. Thank you.
And so, when you're looking at that, and I'll come back to this so people can see here because it's quite interesting.
And if you're a female watching this show, look at that, because when you go to have kids, I want you to stick this in your mind. What you eat influences how well your body performs.
It's the health of the child,
and your baby
which is directly correlated to the health of the placenta. And the iron and everything that you need to successfully build that placenta and keep it functioning and operating to keep the baby healthy,
animal base,
is largely predicated off of having meat incorporated into your diet.
It's really interesting that you said that when I saw Katie's placenta, the veins when Sammy had hers too, when they first take it out, when you see it in its like raw state, you see those bright purple and red veins, and it's like the dark red color of the placenta. That's what you want to see.
And Katie, my wife, had her.
Sorry to our wives if they.
I was about to say
encapsulated, right?
I'm glad I can't do this shit.
And she didn't really have any issues with postpartum. Because, one of the reasons we think is because she was taking those capsules of her placenta, which have a lot of those hormones and everything.
Go back to the photo really quick. I just want to say one thing.
Yeah, we haven't had enough of
This is the organ of life. So when you go to have a child, if you want to be vegan, Like, that's fine. I'm not going to tell you what to do and not do. This picture says 1,000 words, and this is what's going to grow your child. So do you want to have the one on the left or do you want to have the one on the right? I'll let you decide. But the answer seems very obvious.
And also look at the size. Look at the volume difference.
Yeah.
The one on the right seems to have significantly more volume and significantly more size. Now, that's obviously going to vary by person, right? And genetics and other things. But
there's
the
more
proof
variables
is
than just
in-
one variable, yes.
the proof is, here is some proof in the pudding, right?
Yes.
That this is the seemingly optimal way to go with where the leading tips of the nutritionist. With that, Curtis, I'll pass it back over to you for some closing thoughts.
Yeah. So an animal-based diet, if you're going to get started in your fitness and your nutrition journey, that is definitely where you want to go and where you want to start with. From a fitness perspective, remember the 3 rules. You want to start moving,
Move.
prepare more,
Prepare.
and keep it simple.
Simple.
And that's going to be for everything you do throughout the 24 hours of your day. That's the 1 hour you're going to spend in the gym or wherever you're doing your movement, and the other 23 hours of your day. And we had talked about a variety of things in between then based on my experience.
The 3 rules when picking maybe a group coaching session, and the coach needs to have.
You should be able to model, preach, and teach as a fitness instructor or a nutritionist or somebody that is in the health and fitness space. This is incredibly true for the medical space as well. If your doctor is giving you medical advice around how to move and how to eat, and they cannot model, preach, and teach the part, run, folks, because they're a doctor and they know medicine, but they don't know nutrition, as Paul Saladino definitely knows, because that is why he stopped being a doctor, to really dive into it.
Dr. Rhonda Patrick, I wouldn't say Liver King, but he is knowledgeable. But
Liver
everyone
King-
we have mentioned, I'm just
His
saying.
wife
Liver
is a
King,
dentist.
Liver King has 2 personalities. What he allows you to see on his Instagram profile is the fucking Liver King
For
that
sure.
people may or may not like. But if you listen to him on a podcast, the dude is smart. And I'm
long
sorry,
form. You're saying long form.
you cannot get to a place of wealth
Yeah.
and
without.
not
and
have
fitness and fitness.
and fitness. I don't listen. Steroids aside, just because you take steroids doesn't mean you get jacked like Liver King. You have to put in the mother effing work to get like
it's
that.
torture.
It is the discipline. That
Mhm.
guy has got the discipline, does the same thing day in and day out. He makes his life better, and he's better today than he was yesterday.
Hey, also real quick, and while we're wrapping up, can we real quick a list of people who your name droppers, just so I can have a nice clip of it? Paul Saladino.
Paul Saladino, the Liver King, and Max Lugavere.
Mhm.
And if you want your own fitness programming,
Ryan
I
Fisher.
recommend Ryan Fisher.
And if Scott's allowed to add a name that Curtis would co-sign, Dr. Rhonda Patrick.
I think Dr. Rhonda Patrick's great.
All right.
And with that, thank you very much for watching the WAC Attack podcast. I
All
always
right,
have to
pussy.
get the last word in, and I always like to say the outro. So there we go.